A bid has been made by the Modi Sarkar to completely overhaul colonial-era Indian criminal justice delivery system. The Home Minister today tabled 3 bills for the complete overhaul of colonial-era Indian criminal laws. The 1860 Indian Penal Code will be replaced by the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. The Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita will replace the Code of Criminal Procedure, and the Bharatiya Saksha Sanhita will replace the Indian Evidence Act. All 3 have been referred to a standing committee for review. The sedition law has now been overhauled as acts of secession. Essentially, the term sedition has been removed in the new bill, but the provision has been retained under Section 150 with some changes. The maximum punishment, which was 3 years in jail to life, now has been extended to 7 years in jail or life term. Listening to the Home Minister promising to replace the colonial law with a new age Indian law, which not just punishes but provides justice.
जो कानून रिपील होंगे इस तीनों विधेयक से, वो कानूनों की आत्मा जो है वो अंग्रेज शासन को मजबूत करने की दृष्टि से कानून बनाए गए थे और उसका उद्देश्य दंड देने का था, न्याय देने का नहीं था। ये दोनों मूलभूत चीजों पर हम परिवर्तन करने जाए। एक और हमने राजद्रोह को रिपील किया है, दूसरी ओर संगठित अपराध और टेररिज्म पर नकेल कसने का काम भी हमने किया है।
The 3 proposed legislation which was introduced in the parliament by Honorable the Home Minister are path-breaking. Organized crime has been defined separately. A very comprehensive bill which shrugs off the colonial legacy of the past and is in tune with the current realities of India to make it more pro-people, expeditious hearing, and above all, catching real fugitives.
The Honorable Home Minister has moved 3 historic bills in the Parliament which are going to replace the colonial era criminal justice laws which govern the criminal justice space in India. This is a monumental reform that is going to touch the lives of every Indian.
The actions have been coming in while Chief Minister Stalin calls it linguistic imperialism. Asaduddin Owaisi says it's a bid to give sweeping powers to the government. Listen in.
In the garb of saving nation and everything, BJP government is hell-bent on destroying everything. We have to save history, save constitution, because BJP is in the name of Rashtradroh. They are going to use it against the political opponents and the people who are not the traditional voters of BJP. I think people are saying it. We have to save democracy. We have to save history. And we strongly deplore the mindset of BJP in which they are hell-bent on changing everything.
जिस तरह से भारतीय जनता पार्टी राजनीति कर रही है वो स्पष्ट रूप से दिख रहा है कि वो अपने सुविधा अनुसार कहीं ना कहीं जो भारत की संवैधानिक व्यवस्था उसको बदलना चाहती है.
Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us at the moment, we have with us Shashank Shekhar Jha, lawyer. Sanket Yenagi is an advocate. Pankaj Sharma is a political analyst joining us on the broadcast. Shashank Shekhar Jha, let me start first and foremost with Asaduddin Owaisi's comments, because he says this is a bid to give sweeping powers to the state, to the government. Your response to that?
Namaste to you and your fellow panelists. I guess this is a very sad remark by a fellow member of parliament. Now, when Parliament is bringing laws for this country, by this country, in order to, safeguard the future of this country, I don't think there should be politicization of the same. Now, as the Home Minister clearly says that these bills will replace the justice, change the justice system and make it more efficient for the common people. I guess that will be really helpful. Like I was seeing the new proposed bills. One of the point which really excited me was, there is a provision of community punishment now. So we have already seen that US, or for that matter, European nations have used community services as a punishment in order to change change the nature of those who have committed crime. I guess these type of amendments were required in Indian legal system also. Also, we must remember the fact that IPC was drafted in 1860. In fact, Evidence Act was drafted even before. So such laws were definitely required to be changed for modern India. And I am really hopeful that now, because these three bills has been sent to the select committee, so obviously there will be more inputs into it. I hope that even High Courts and Supreme Court should give their own suggestions and viewpoints.
Let's get a quick response from other panelists as well. Let's get a quick response from Sanket Yanagi. Sanket Yanagi, do you agree with Shashank Shekhar Jha saying that too much is being made out of this? It's just going to go to the select committee, it will perhaps be deliberated there? Or do you agree with Assuddin Owaisi, who says कि मोदी सरकार 3 नए कानून लाई है जो देश में जुर्म कोर्ट और पुलिस के ताल्लुक से कई बड़े बदलाव लाएंगे? इसमें कोई शक नहीं कि ये कानून सरकार को और गैर मामूली ताकतें देंगे और मासूम शहरियों को हकूक के साथ खिलवाड़ करेंगे। हम ऐसे तमाम दफात की मुखालफत करेंगे जिसमें मासूमों को बिना अपील, दलील या वकील जेल में बंद किया जाता है। How do you respond to this, Sanket Yanagi? Request you to unmute yourself and speak, please.
First of all, these legislations which were enacted during the British rule have been amended from time to time, depending upon the exigencies of the situation and suitability of the circumstances. Now the law or the amended provisions which are in force are as per the required situation of the country. And now BJP is of the habit of changing the name of the places, changing the name of certain things earlier, the schemes of the previous government, and now it is changing the legislative names and also mostly including the same provisions or similar provisions. It is like old wine in the new bottle. And it is quite, has been a practice of the BJP to do the same, and such exercise is not new for them. But at the end of the day, what matters is that when there is already the provision in the textbook or the law book, which is dealing with the exigencies of the situation, is there anything else which is required to change the provision of law or to change the name, or does it change the circumstances, or does it change the dimension of the circumstances, is the question to be asked. Merely by changing the name of the legislations or merely changing certain provisions of the same, it is one and the same almost. And it will be similar. It will not help anything else except the BJP.
So you're saying these changes were not necessary, but what Mr. Owaisi is asking you, including all opposition parties, including the Congress, citing that when the UAPA amendments were brought, Congress supported the BJP, and therefore he's asking you whether you are going to oppose these amendments to the law and these criminal codes and the CRPC and the IPC as well as the Evidence Act, or are you in support of them? He is specifically asking that question of the Congress party.
So insofar as the Congress party's stand is concerned, wherever there is no necessity to change or amend the provision of law, we would certainly oppose it. Where it becomes
can you give us
unnecessary,
specifics, please? Are you talking about the new laws in relation to Rashtradroh, which is the law to replace sedition or treason? What is it that you're specifically talking about, Mr. Yanagi? You're an advocate, so let's talk specifics here.
Yes. Let us understand the question of sedition here for a moment. Insofar as sedition, most often the provision of sedition has been misused. That's how even the Supreme Court has stated in many cases. Rightful protests have been brought under the definition of sedition, and more so the courts have intervened in order to protect the fundamental rights of the citizens, saying that it is a fundamental right and sedition is not
Yanagi,
required.
you're talking in specifics. I want specifics to this particular law. I'm sure you have read these laws. They were being tabled this afternoon at around 1 o'clock, and they're very specific. Has it widened the scope of who all are covered, because social media, online media are all posted there? Are you objecting to that? Do you think it's a welcome move? Specific to what has been announced today, what is your specific objection, or what are you specifically supporting?
Yes. So now there are certain provisions, like earlier it was whoever by words either spoken or written or by signs or by visible representation, so and so, so and so. But now it has been changed to certain dimensions. Now let us understand a moment where the provision which even covers the social media and such other aspects. So now there is an opportunity to misuse it.
Okay, now you're saying there is a possibility of misusing the new provisions in relation to the so-called provision of Rashtradroh, whether it is called treason, sedition, whatever it may be called. Of course, we'll have to wait for the official version on what the name of that particular law is. But Shashank Shekhar Jha, the references of Rashtradroh or the legal provisions that have been made can be potentially misused. This is what Mr. Vaisi is saying, and this is what Mr. Yenagi is also saying.
So my question is, who can misuse it? See, we need to understand that police and law and order comes under state policy or state rules. Now because there is an opposition alliance, so we know how many states are ruled by opposition alliance right now. And this is a matter of fact that opposition has equally misused all these sedition laws and the laws they are talking right now. For example, as recent...
That is also not right, sir. Two wrongs don't make a right. Opposition has misused, so we will misuse today. What kind of argument
No, I'm just giving a...
No, please. Let's talk reasonable. We are discussing the current amendments that have been made. Whether these amendments are fair, not fair, I'm not sitting in judgment of that. But there are certain objections that are coming from the opposition. Let's talk about those objections, please.
Just for a second. That is the best part with these bills are that they have been sent to select committee. Now, because select committee is there, so they will give their expert inputs, and that is why I really appreciate the fact that these bills has not directly been passed but has been referred to select committee where members of all the parties will be there.
Okay, members of all the parties will be there, Pankaj Sharma. Therefore, these objections are a bit premature. Of course, they can voice their opinion in the select committee, and therefore the select committee will then perhaps give its suggestions in its wisdom, which the government can then consider if there are any loopholes in these laws. Are you satisfied with this argument of Shashank Shekhar Jha?
The track record of Modi government is such that there is a rapidly growing apprehension in the country on policy decisions it takes. So in this context, these three bills which have been presented in the parliament, replacing the Indian Penal Code of 1860 by the Bharati Nyaya Sanhita, otherwise is a welcome step. But any reforms in the constructive direction should be received happily. It must be ensured that new laws should not be made with the hidden intention of converting a democratic state into a police state. That is the...
Okay, a democratic state. Charu Pragya, respond to that. Yeah, I think we have lost that line with Mr. Sharma, but I want Charu Pragya to respond to that. Are we converting a democratic state into a police state by giving vast and overreaching powers to the state administration? That appears to be the complaint coming in from both Mr. Yenagi and, in fact, Mr. Pankaj Sharma. Please respond to that.
Yeah, good evening. Madhav, I find it quite funny that the opposition can make a statement like that today when we are in a country where a policeman cannot be used as a witness in court. I think while we are amending laws, let's look at those issues as well. So the person whose responsibility is to maintain law and order, his word does not account for much when it comes to trying a matter in court. That also needs to change. That being said, I think it's a great move by the government of India to get rid of the colonial hangover. All our older laws. Am I audible? I'm sorry, Madhav. Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
So this was I think 1860 law, if I'm not mistaken, and what the government aims to do now is make it more clear. It is not simply about saying bad things about India as a nation. That's not sedition, but you cannot endanger the integrity, sovereignty of our country, and you have to take the responsibility and onus if your actions are causing that. And I think this is a very positive mood, and as usual, the opposition only comes up with non-arguments. Instead of supporting the government in something which is correct, which is very positive going forward, they also talk in a way where they're absolutely certain that forget about 2024, they'll never come back to power in 2029.
But Charu Pragya,
onwards as well.
Charu Pragya, there's one more objection. There's one more objection coming in. MK Stalin says that this is nothing but language imperialism. While nobody in their right mind would have a problem with Macaulay's, legal structure, it has been modified several times, but perhaps the terminologies, it was time, it was over 100 years, 160 years in fact, and perhaps it's 120 years, I beg your pardon, and it is time to perhaps change those names. But Mr. MK Stalin is objecting to the fact that the names are in Hindi. He and his party members say that this is linguistic imperialism. How are you going to deal with this issue? Charu Pragya. All right, Charu Pragya's line has gone down. Let me take that question across to Shashank Shekhar Jha. Yes, Mr. Jha. Is this linguistic imperialism?
Madhavji, the problem with the opposition today is they have problem with the name Bharat. Now, once someone will read Article 1 of Indian Constitution, it says India, that is Bharat. So, what can you do with someone who has problem with the name Bharat? Now, opposition is having problem with this as well. No, this is really weird to see that even we are talking about these things into 21st century. We must talk as to how there should be reforms in legal system.
No.
They may object to
One second. Shashank, may I please intervene? It's Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita, Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, and Bharatiya Sakshya Sanhita. So, are those names not in Hindi?
Can I come in, please, Madhav?
1
10
second.
seconds?
No.
Yeah, I'm coming to you. Your line got interrupted. Please be a little patient. Let Shashank answer the question I've asked him. Are these names not in Hindi according to you? Nobody will have in his right mind any problem with Bharat or India. But the fact that Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, Nyay Sanhita and Sakshya Sanhita have been included, obviously the DMK is reacting to those words.
They are Sanskrit words used in Devanagari script and is available in all languages. Even if you go to Marathi language or, for example, Tamil language, these words are there.
Is that factually correct? Let's ask Saket Yanagi. Do you agree with Mr. M.K. Stalin that DMK, or do you think Shashank Shekhar Jha has a point when he says that these are Sanskrit-based words and not Hindi as is being projected?
And also Tamil words.
Mr. Stalin's statement could be under the influence of the earlier facts in the scenarios wherein the BJP has multiple times tried to impose Hindi on the South Indian people. That could be one of the reasons Mr. Stalin might have made his statement. Because earlier, they tried to impose Hindi on the Tamilians, they tried to impose Hindi on Kannadigas, they tried in one or the other state in one or the other way. So that could be one of the reasons he might have understood in that sense.
Okay.
And he could be right in that sense from that angle.
Okay, there is a history to this, Charu Pragya. You have tried to impose Hindi, your party in any event has tried to. That's what Sanket Yanagi is saying, and that's why those are the fears that are being expressed by the DMK. Please respond to him.
Yeah, Madhav, our party is one that believes in giving a lot of respect to every single culture, every single language of this country. We are known for that. We take pride in that. But how is it that my friend from the DMK has no problem using English as a language to unite us all, but he has a problem using Hindi as a problem to unite us all? Why is that? And the mother of all these languages happens to be Sanskrit. I don't understand. It's just greatly illogical, and plus it's a language that 80% of this country speaks. And you take offense at the word Bharat. The Constitution says India, that is Bharat. That's the first line. India, that is Bharat. It's been there since India became an independent nation. So I think this is just political rhetoric. It does not serve any purpose beyond that.
Okay, Pankaj Sharma, your response to that, is it just rhetoric that is being whipped up? Is it just political passions that are being inflamed over here? Or is there some substance in what Mr. Stalin has stated, that this is some kind of linguistic imperialism? Because you have Shashank and you have Charu who are saying that this is Sanskrit. How can you object to words such as Bharat?
See, I don't endorse Stalin's linguistic imperialism theory. This is nothing like this. But as I was saying, the track record of Modi government is such that there are doubts in the minds of the people. For instance, the CEC bill brought by overturning 5-judge constitutional bench judgment, which came only on 2nd March this year. So, these type of things, in order to allow independence in the functioning of the Election Commission as a constitutional body, the office of Chief Election Commissioner as well as the election commissioners have to be insulated from the executive interference. But what coming from the Modi government in an election year further cements the view that he wants to ensure control over everything. So this is the problem. Whenever he comes with any bills or any new laws,
right?
His intentions are different. So this deficit of trust in him is the major problem.
There's a deficit of trust because of the kind of bills that are being brought in, which are changing all sorts of constitutional norms. That's the sum and substance of Mr. Pankaj Sharma's argument. Respond to that, Charu Pragya.
See, first of all, is he trying to insinuate that the leader of opposition or anybody else from the opposition parties are just going to agree with whatever the ruling dispensation wants? Is that what you're trying to insinuate here? Because that's exactly what it sounds like. Also, let's remember our constitution.
Charu, the question that they are asking is why remove CJ and bring in another cabinet member? Doesn't that make the powers of the government lopsided? It's going to be 2 versus 1. The CJ would be an impartial political member of that panel. One is PM, one is LOP. Why not keep an impartial arbiter like the CGI? Why change the structure of the existing architecture that already exists in the search panel, the selection panel of CBI chief, of the CVC, of the ED?
Yeah, so Madhav, to that, let's make one thing very clear. Whatever decisions are being taken, first of all, this is not just a short-term decision, this is a long-term decision. Secondly, the CGI has already got enough powers, and the way, even appointments of judges happen, it's done in a particular manner in this country, which we've frankly been questioning. I'm a lawyer, I'm a degree holder, I have my sanat, and I think there are certain things that need to be changed in our judicial system as well.
Okay.
So where are we wrong?
No, but Charu Pragya, I think judicial appointments and the appointment of officials such as the Election Commissioner for India Chief, the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners, I think they are two very, very different aspects, because the entire poll process that it has, questions that could potentially be raised if the process is not perceived as being neutral or fair. We'll have to leave it there for the moment. Of course, from the new criminal laws and codes to, in fact, the recent constitutional or the selection process amendments, several such laws that have, in fact, caused controversy as far as the monsoon session is concerned. But Charu Pragya, Shashank Shekhar Jha, Sanket Yanagi and Pankaj Sharma, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening.